Yo, Boons, what is good? We're back, and now we're on, well, not top one as of the day of recording, because RAM is literally bugged, but probably aside from RAM, we are on top one. We're back with Goldlewis. This is day one of season 4, and he is completely broken. This is by far, and keep in mind what we've had with this character before, by far the strongest version of Goldlewis that has ever existed in this game. Just think about that for a second, what that implies. And we're going to go through why that is today, kind of how to use his new changes, because there's a lot to it, believe me, and what I think they should probably do, and kind of meta thoughts about Guilty Gear at the moment. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So let's talk the overall changes. First of all, to give you an idea of how Goldlewis works now, they made security have new ways of being spent. That's kind of like the total direction that they're going in. And the premier way that this changes things is that you can actually cancel behemoths into other behemoths by spending half of your security gauge on that. You can only cancel into other BTs in the same rotational direction. So for example, 268 can only be canceled into 684, 842, or 426, or itself, of course. And 248 can only be canceled into itself, 486, 624, and 862. I said that in the wrong order, like going around the clock, but still covered all of them. Anyhow, the other restriction on this is that you can only do it at a pretty tight window into your BT's active frames, like late into the active frames. You can buffer it, but you can't really vary the timing that much with when you security cancel, which means that all BTs security canceled into themselves are actually completely gapless. They did not want you to be able to frame trap, and rightfully so. That would have been completely broken if you could do it at any point into the recovery. For obvious reasons, it's still completely broken, by the way. But yeah, that's like the big change with him. But there are actually two other changes I wanted to point out before we get into all the specifics that are kind of going to be underpinning a lot of things. The first of those, the 248 range buff. This changes a ton of Goldlewis routing. Tons and tons of Goldlewis routing, not even including the security cancel changes, by the way. This just on its own changes things. Like, look at this. What? Off a 2K? Since when? And look how far that goes. I can even put him back on the same side that he started without any kind of like this is dumb. This is again going to be an overarching theme. It's just broken. It's just straight up broken. I don't know what they're thinking. But yeah, he gets that, and that's going to pop up all over the place in the routing, which you'll see later. So the third big change that they did is that they removed the sour spot on 486. Yeah, so on the start of the front half of the active frames of this move before, it used to have a hitbox that would kind of just send them at an odd angle, and you really couldn't combo out of it at all. That's just gone, and now on top of that, if you hit where the sour spot would have hit before, it ground bounces them literally right in front of you in close slash range, which means close slash 2H, because also a fact of this is that you don't need to do 2H anymore to combo into 486. You can just do it off a close slash all the time for that same reason, which means you could just pick up with another close slash 2H because the 2H won't be gravity scaled, 426, and get crazy conversions compared to what you could have before. Let's just give an example of that real quick. I mean, come on. Come on. He has 15 risk right now, by the way, for the damage, so we'll get to that later. Keep that in mind. But, like, what? He just gets mid-screen, free throw RC, wall breaks because of this change, like, without any kind of technical skill. Doing the throw combo there, by the way, the universal version that gave you a similar distance wall break, was incredibly technical pre-patch, like super difficult, so hard that there is not any Goldlewis that actually did it consistently. Despite us knowing about it, we're not actually all ass. As it turns out, there are things that are just incredibly hard with this character that are not really worth going for all that much. Okay, and there's one more big change I want to highlight that I kind of didn't mention among the big three, but it's still worth pointing out. Gun now only requires half of it to be spent to have the same properties as old full bar gun, and not only that, you can just shoot like 20 more bullets than you used to be able to now. What? Like, what? This is one of the best guts-crushing moves in the entire game, if not the best. And it's also one of the best risk-depleting tools in the entire game, and this has implications later that we'll get to. But yeah, those are the big changes. Let's kind of get into how you can exploit these and some setups and tech and things to know about them. Okay. I'll kind of try to go down the list as to the most relevant things, but there's so much, even on day one, that I'm bound to miss some stuff. So toward the end, especially with combos, I'm kind of going to take the lead a horse to water approach, and it'll be up to you guys to kind of come up with some of it, because there's so much freedom he has now. It's like, as long as you understand the core concepts, yeah, you can go wild. So first of all, let's talk about security cancels some more. So the first thing to be aware of with this is that you can now convert off of BTs you previously couldn't convert off of. So we have those changes with like 486 and, 248 from before. That factors in conversion ability. But also this reverse hit of 624, it now pops them up, straight up, right? Which is very ridiculous. And 486 kind of pulls the opponent forward enough. Both of these are very useful for new conversions, and we'll get into that in a minute here, but they're just things to be aware of. So kind of the first major area we want to focus on with this is confirming off of 862. Yeah, you now just get a combo off of this. Like, you can just combo off of 862. What they were thinking with this, I genuinely have no idea. It makes no sense, and it is completely broken. But you can do it, and you might as well be aware of how. So if you want to side swap, and this will pop up many times, but the new 248 changes allow you to side swap back because the range change is so ridiculous. That's if you want to spend one security gauge. And of course, if you want to spend two, you can do that kind of thing. You're chilling. And of course, you can choose whether or not you want to side swap as well. There are many different ways to go about doing this kind of combo here, but the core idea is just to start with this, and there are a lot of different ways you can security cancel. Again, from there, in setups you want to go for, you can even set up left-rights off of that. And as such, speaking of left-rights, kind of this idea of comboing out of 248 is going to pop up again, actually, in that scenario. So we all know about this throw left-right. If you haven't seen it, I have a full video about it. This is a truly ambiguous left-right 50-50 that Goldlewis has off of throw. It is a genuine mix-up, and now if you actually confirm that into 248, you just get like full combos off of it, which is way more than you used to before. You can't do this if you do close slash 248, but it is hit confirmable, and you can block DPs at the same time. It's just a little bit tight, but this is something that is crazy strong. Speaking of which, and this is something else we covered in that same video, like these air dash 862s that can be pretty ambiguous as to what side they're on. Look at this. Just look. What are they thinking? Why are we allowed to do this? I actually can't explain it. Why are we allowed to do this? I also want to highlight the back turn conversions. Sadly, backturn 862, that kind of full combo pull effect that it used to have is gone. But thanks to security cancels, we can still keep the party going. Same side, and again, if you want to, make them side swap again, you just do 2K, 248. It's incredibly generous how far it'll hit. Kind of same story there. However, we also get a full combo now off of backturn 842, which was an overhead that previously only gave 2P684 on hit. I mean, come on. Look at what we're getting off of that, right? And that is so hard to block. And even if they do block it, you can security cancel into another backturn 842. So you're really checking if they actually did block the back turn or not in that case, which is ridiculous. And again, that's gapless, by the way, double overhead gapless. And it's also plus 16 on block, so even if they don't get opened up. Anyway, that's really, really strong. Just something I wanted to highlight, and another example of why these security cancel pickups are so potent indeed. The next big topic I wanted to talk about is the gun. Yeah, so we're just getting like twice the damage we used to on gun for no reason. And this counts as one move. Its risk depletion is best in class. Its gust crush is best in class. The effect is that we can just shit out TODs for free now. I mean, come on. Literally, like, less than a close slash's worth of risk. Less than a close slash's worth of risk. and you are TOD'd as Kai, that is post HP buffs as well. This is absurd. It is actually absurd the amount of damage you get from gun, and even a stray 6H normal hit in neutral. What is this? What? Why is he allowed to do that with some amount of risk? And if you're closer to the corner, by the way, they made this an auto wall break as well. Oh, when you dump the entire thing, what are they thinking? It's just, it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. But he's allowed to do it anyway. So I have to point it out. Also, something about this, again, that is worth noting is if you spend half security gauge, it has the same properties as old full security gauge gun, which means that you can actually pick up off the OTG. And conveniently enough, even though you can't kind of pinpoint exactly 50 by doing it this way, you can if you security cancel first with a BT and then gun. And I think that that actually will pop up in some routes. I mean, come on. Come on. You should not be able to convert off of that meterless. And now you're going from no conversions to 333 damage. This is not okay. Like in the slightest. It's crazy where you can insert this gun. Let's give a nice other little example here. You can actually security cancel in the air as well. Kai is set to 6p here. I mean, what is that? What is that? He's set to 6p. Like I said. And we just frame trapped that. We would have been super plus. We frame trap anything there, not just 6p. And you basically die. Yeah, and anytime you have risk, this is just what you want to do. It's ridiculous what this new gun can get you. And it was something that I needed to point out early on because this is something that we need to abuse. So something else, and this is quite an interesting little tidbit that we can do here, is that you can actually Kara super using security cancel. So one effect of that is you can just wall break off of your normal hit 684s now? Huh? You're telling me I can just do this? Yeah, you can just do this. So the way that this works is whatever direction that you're facing, right? If you do, we'll assume a 684 here. So a counterclockwise behemoth, you just do a counterclockwise full circle and then Kara super with H plus P 360 basically in the security cancel window, and that's how you'll get it. I was a little too late there. There I hit the security cancel window. But if I were to go on this side and do clockwise instead, so 684 on this side, right? I need to do Kara super using a clockwise 360 motion. Okay, so that is pretty important distinguishment to make because I actually pretty much only churn, as you all know, I always recommend 426 in that direction. So yeah, you just got to make sure to 360 kind of in the correct orientation, rotational direction of whatever behemoth that you're trying to Kara super out of. And you can Kara beam. This is a meme. I am 95% sure, but yeah, you can Kara beam out of your BTs as well. That just kind of depends on if you know how Kara beam super works in general. Kind of the idea is that you Kara a BT at the same time as the kind of second quarter circle, which can be used to buffer store part of a behemoth. For example, like the traditional way that we Kara beam in neutral, if you have like 49 meter and you want to beam, quarter circle forward, 426 K plus H. But there are a few other ways you can do it. Like you can do quarter circle forward, and then I guess in this case, I'm doing another quarter circle forward. And then from that last forward, I'm going to 64 quickly, basically like in the buffer window. And then doing Kara super with K plus H. But yeah, nonetheless, this Kara super tech, super important. Kara beam, meme. Kara down with the system, super busted. It means that you can be unburstable and wall break with super off of hits that wouldn't grant you any wall break previously, which is ridiculous. That's like super broken as well. I mean, come on, it's broken. Moving on. So the next thing I want to highlight is just the amount of pressure sequences that you can do now with these security cancels. It's so crazy. It's actually so insane. So to talk about some of the really, really strong options, first off, I think a big one to highlight is 684-268. This will frame trap or trade with 5 frames, which is so strong because this allows you to simultaneously cover backdash and also like annoying challenges and RPS in a lot of situations, and basically frame trapping at the same time. So what you do, for example, is for like if you hit a Johnny with a space 268 that is not super plus, and you want to run up and continue pressure with 2K, but also frame trap and try to cover the backdash at the same time, you do the 2K and you intentionally do 684 at a timing so that it will come out on whiff. And that means if they backdash, they're going to get caught by the 684. If they stay put, they're going to block the 684, and then you can continue pressure with security cancel 268. And that will also frame trap, by the way, if they try to take their turn back right away. And of course, that introduces this very, very cringe mind game on 684, which is, do I mash immediately? Or do I just, like, not risk Goldlewis killing me with a trade? Now, kind of the counter argument to that is that they can kind of, like, fuzzy mash it a little bit, because, again, the security cancel window, pretty hard to delay. And I think at most you can maybe only delay it a couple frames anyway, if at all. But the 268 is very active. So if you try to fuzzy mash into that, you might run into problems, depending upon the spacing, of course. But regardless, like even if they commit to blocking it, and you have a full picture of that scenario, you did a 684 on block. This situation used to be -5 and a little bit spaced, end of your turn. Now it's like +9 to +14 most of the time. I mean, we're going from ending turn on -5 to continuing turn on +9 to +14. Absolutely broken, just like the rest of it. And kind of the big thing to notice about security cancels is the amount of extra meter that it gives you, and how this just interacts with the rest of Goldlewis's kit to allow him to get these ad infinitum pressure extensions, a la White Wild Assaults 3.5. It's kind of the same deal, where anytime you're running low on meter, oh, White Wild Assault, I'm plus, I get to continue my turn. Same thing, anytime, you know, I don't have enough meter to do a mix-up, oh, you know what? I'm not going to risk taking an extension, right? Like, I'm not going to risk trying to do 2K 486, which I very well could be. I want to guarantee building to 50 the same way that White Wild Assault would guarantee it. Well, now I can, because I'm just able to do this for free, and I just got an extra 25 meter for committing to absolutely nothing. Again, completely for free in that case, which is so disgusting. And as it turns out, every single security cancel into itself is completely gapless. And that includes at like all such spacings, even like this. And so that means that you can basically always, if you want, spend security cancels to build some extra meter for yourself, which is insane. Combine that with these 486 spacing buffs, for example. Look, just free meter for nothing. And of course, once you build a 50 meter with Goldlewis, then you get your party started. It's so insane, and you can actually kind of like stall with your pressure in such a way that you actually build back to security, end your meter penalty, build another 50 bar, and the pressure extensions are absolutely ridiculous. This is not balanced at all. Like, it's crazy. He can extend his pressure harder than ever before, because you can spend your security to build your meter, which you can spend to build your security to build your meter again. You see what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's so ridiculous. And I wouldn't be surprised to find that if the opponent has no resources, similar to FRC Drone, my beloved from before, which is now dead, in light of these new better options that you have, almost positive you have a pseudo-infinite block string on your hands there. That is probably much stronger against FD, and that you can build to in a completely non-interactive way, a way that cannot be reversaled, that cannot be wire seed, that cannot be mashed on, that cannot be backdashed. It's just gapless guard crush, baby. Why is that allowed? Again, don't know. Okay, but let's talk about some other things with security cancels. We still have so much more to get to. Okay, another one is like security cancels in the air. You can see they kind of like artificially pop you up. And so one way that this has been, you know, kind of messed with is air dash 268. If you super jump, you can get cross up here like that. Or on same side, I believe you can also just do another 268. Yeah, like that. It's a little spacing dependent, and that is also, you know, beatable with 6POS, DPOS, DSOS, Super OS, whatever. There are ways to beat it, but people aren't nowheres against Goldlewis. But yeah, this can be pretty useful, I would say. These changes, particularly if you get the opponent to block one kind of low to the ground that would have previously not been very plus, you can frame trap their 6P using these air security cancels, which is very, very, very good. It's very, very good indeed. And despite kind of what the changes said about the recovery on these changing in the air, I believe that was only to facilitate security cancels, because the frame data on this kind of thing seems to be, and I'm not 100% sure about this, seems to be unaffected for the most part, or maybe differs by 1 frame at most. And another reason I have for suspecting that is that my land cancel setups still work. This frame kill still works. So if the frame data were different on this AR248, it wouldn't. That is a kind of just frame setup for land cancels in a certain sense. And speaking of which, while we're on that topic, I just need to mention it. Land cancel stocks are at an all-time high because you can now convert off of this, which is really disgusting. And that is quite hard to block as well if you're not used to land cancels. Just any kind of cheeky way to set up into 862 is so broken now. Not only by the fact that you get the full combo off of it, but also the fuzzy itself is way stronger now because you threaten 248 as the low option. And you get a full combo off of it because you do 248 security cancel, 624 or 486, depending on kind of what sort of combo you want, as we showed earlier. But yeah, that is another reason why this is totally disgusting, by the way. And there are plenty of ways to set this up, by the way. For example, close slash 248862. This is also a very strong pressure sequence. This will beat every mash in the game. Only loses to invincible reversals and IB throw. So yeah, that is disgusting. Disgusting. So now to talk a little bit about optimizations. I think that Hoshino, the Japanese Goldlewis, kind of a nice lab monster for us, put together a really, really nice combo guide actually that looks quite optimal for this version already, kind of on day one. So I would highly recommend you check that out. I'll put it in the description. It has a lot of useful things. But kind of the idea that we have to remember with Goldlewis is that you always want to do behemoth into behemoth as much as you can early on into a combo. That is going to be your highest damage route almost always. It's crazy. And you see, I started that combo with 3 behemoths. That's kind of the idea. You want to do behemoth into behemoth as much as you possibly can. Which is why, yes, you know, I can spend 1 security cancel here and, you know, still get a decent combo off of this 862. But if I want more damage, I want to maximize it, it's better to go into 3 behemoths. You know, that's kind of the idea with this character. By the way, they also buff 6H damage. So this kind of route is also fairly optimal. And there are, you know, going to be ways to optimize things. Generally, if you want a little bit more juice out of your combo, if you combo into a 248 and you have not used a 486 yet, you can security cancel into it and kind of get some extra damage, as I showed before, like this. That is very, very strong. There are other examples of it in Hoshino's video. I recommend checking it out. But yeah, the main ideas are A, yes, keep in mind that you want to do behemoth into behemoth as much as possible. But B, I would say you want to understand kind of his new combo structure for some of these new hits that he has. So I'll just give the core examples here. The first is, as I showed, with 862, you want to security cancel into 248 and then either pick up with a 624 or a 486. Depending on if you want to get the better conversion, which afterward is close slash 2H268. It's kind of the best I've been able to find, at least. If you want to do that same side or cross up, that just depends on which one of those that you select. That is kind of core idea number 1. I'll just show it here. And then core idea number 2, I would say, is 268 security cancel 426. This pops up in, for example, this counter hit route that we have now, which did not exist before and is extremely confirmable because, of course, you can't confirm normal 684 unless you want to commit meter. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And you know what? Let's just stack on the idea that we had before about the 486 just to show how it optimizes a little bit. And yeah, you can see I think the other combo is 311. That one's like 318 or something. But yeah, it's also going to build you more meter and allow you to super more consistently. Anyway, Yeah, the 268 426 idea is gonna pop up a pretty decent amount, of course, in these combos. So that's kind of the big ones when it comes to security cancel routing that you need to be aware of, and you combine that with the new range on 248 and the lack of sour spot on 486. Here's one example that combines those ideas. This requires no Kara cancel to have the correct spacing most of the time. I mean, come on. Come on. That's dumb. But yeah, that's one example that kind of combines the security cancel idea off 248. I'm doing 64, and then I'm also combining the fact that 486 has no sour spot by doing close slash 486 there and getting my pickup afterward, right? And that just shows sort of everything in one combo, why these new changes are so ridiculous. That covers everything I wanted to talk about with the new Goldlewis stuff. Again, for an actual combo guide, I would say, use these ideas to build your new combo routes, but to defer to like the actual combos themselves. To be fair, I want Hoshino's video to get the attention it deserves on that, so the link is in the description below. Shout out to them for finding some awesome new stuff for us. But yeah, that being said, I wanted to talk a little bit about the kind of meta of Guilty Gear Strive right now. So first off, to be honest, they went overboard with these changes with Goldlewis. This is way too much for not having any compensatory nerfs, or for not pushing the overall power level of all characters to this crazy level, which I'm not sure I really would have wanted personally. That would have been a Dragon Ball patch if everyone got boosted to this power level. And to be fair, that means if I want to maintain kind of a more game with high integrity, then I should call for nerfs to this character. I think that maybe security cancel should cost the full gauge of security. That would make this kind of reasonable, I think, and a big buff. And even then, they should give a lot of attention to the characters that didn't get these larger scale reworks compared to what Goldlewis got. So I think it's a little ridiculous, and it's kind of unfortunate that it seems like the patch sort of like 3.5 and 3.0 were like lazy kind of just ways to spice up the game without actually doing nearly as much as we know ArcSys is capable of. They developed Guilty Gear Strive within only a few years of supporting their other games, which leads me to the conspiracy that is a not so far-fetched idea. They're putting all their resources into something big right now that is not Guilty Gear Strive, and I think that's shown through with this patch especially, and considering the fact that we don't have new moves for a lot of characters in the base roster. Even so, like a year later, when they plan on doing that, we're not getting things that they planned on for a long time, like instant kills, etc. All that is okay. I really wish that there was some more extensive care put into the balance of this version. Because here you have characters like Goldlewis that got no nerfs and got giga buffed when they were already very strong. Goldlewis was probably 7 through 10 last patch, somewhere in that range for where you place him. You could argue a little bit lower than that as well, reasonably, in my opinion. But I think that would probably be the opinion of many top players, is in that range. Not that they necessarily know what they're talking about on Goldlewis anyway, but that's besides the point. And then you just give him like these top tier buffs. Meanwhile, you have characters like Soul that, while top tier or thereabouts, was like just kind of had his identity change completely, and not necessarily in a good way. It's not clear that that character got buffed at all at this point, by any means. And then you have characters like Ram that, since the dawn of time, have been feasting, have everything that they could possibly want. And then they're so broken in this launch version that if this version were to stay unpatched, she would be banned. She would genuinely be banned because she's actually bugged right now. You cannot interrupt her sword toss. It will come out no matter what, including if you want to meaty with it on like DP or reversal super. If the opponent tries to mash on it, if they try to interrupt it off of literally any button that she does, you can do like 5p with Ram into sword toss, and you're still not only going to not interrupt it, you're going to get counter hit and die. It's like a combo breaker, basically. So that's ridiculous. Not to mention she gets full combo coast to coast 0 to 50 meter off of 5k, normal hit 5k. So not sure what we're thinking with that one. And there are just many examples of that throughout this patch where it's like, did they test this? Like, what did they test this right here? What were they thinking with this? What were they cooking, giving us 23 damage off of an 862? I don't really know. And they're kind of cool and whatnot, some of these changes. I do enjoy security councils, don't get me wrong, and there's so much room for sauce with Goldlewis now. But this is just broken. Let's be honest. It is completely broken. He didn't need it. In the same way that Ram didn't need to get coast to coast, 0 to 50 meter builds. Or like Brown starts, she has a normal hit, far slash, 0 to 50 meter build now without any resources committed, no wild assault, nothing. So I don't really like the idea of doing that, especially only for some characters and not for others. And so at this point, I think it's going to be a little hard to salvage. It's going to take some significant adjustments for some of these new dominant characters, and going to be difficult to do in such a way as to not just elevate the rest of the power levels and reach a point, like I said before, where we're just Dragon Ball, where like every character is just stupid. It's just straight up dumb. Like you have full screen 2Ms and 5Ms in that game that are TOD starters, etc. It's just it's dumb. The game is competitively dead right now in DBFC for that exact reason. Not to mention the timescale that it's been going, and it looks like we may suffer the same fate. So kind of a somber note to end it on, but I just had to put it out there and kind of especially make it clear to my fellow Goldlewis players. This character is absolutely broken right now. He is broken. This is by far the best version we've ever had of him, including White Wild Assault in 3.5 and God Drone. By far the best version we've had of him. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you all for watching, and maybe I'll upload a video just abusing these changes fairly soon. Maybe I won't. Maybe it'll be another 3 months until you hear the sweet Yogoons again. Anyway, with that being said, we'll see you later.